So I'm a VP of EMEA for SmartDrive, and we're a video company specializing in video-based driver risk management programs. We've been active in the UK since 2009, and we have a fairly established customer base of commercial vehicle fleets. So what I wanted to share with you today are the results of a recent study that we did that helps distinguish key observations and risks associated with those key observations, particularly those risks associated with distracted driving, mobile phones, smartphones in particular. I think it's important, first of all, to start off with some sobering reminders of the true impact of distracted driving. It effectively, as we know from all the recent press, it costs lives. It wreaks havoc for the families and friends left behind, not just those of the victims, but for the instigators as well. And don't forget, it costs fleets and businesses such as your own. It also costs you very dearly. So it's a very, very significant and very topical and timely discussion, and very significant public interest topic. One of the first things we have to point out is that despite all of the modern advance in terms of vehicles and vehicle technology with braking systems, active safety, lane departure warnings, forward collision warnings, the driver is still the most advanced technology on the vehicle. It's what they do behind the wheel that makes the most significant impact, no pun intended, on your business and in your brand reputation and your business results. So we know that vehicles are already engineered to it in an inch of their life, but yet we've kind of forgotten about the driver and how we can help them become better and understand how they impact on risk. So what I want to share with you today is a study which we call the Smart IQ Beats Snapshot, and we do in-depth analysis and metrics of the top performance trends on our database of 180 million captured events, and we aggregate that and we anonymize that across all of the fleets so that we can actually see what is it we learn. So as I said, the data is aggregated and anonymized, and it's based on global video-based analytics covering about a 12-month period and about 14.5 billion miles driven. So the findings of the analysis demonstrate that distracted drivers are less safe overall and exhibit fundamental driving errors that you need to be aware of. And they exhibit those errors at a much higher rate than you would see in drivers who don't have a collision. And what we're going to do is we're going to compare those drivers who have a collision or near collision to those drivers who don't, and see are there any evidence that we can see or any learnings that we can get from it. So you can see from here that distracted drivers are 36% more likely to be involved in a near collision. And this jumps to a staggering 88% for drivers that are distracted by mobile phones. That is a huge increase in risk by those two behaviors that we all see happening on the roads today. And they have a very real impact on your risk. So as part of the study, what we did was we examined drivers who were involved in at least one collision over a 12-month period. And we compared that to drivers who had no collisions over the same period. And what we're looking to see is, are there significant differences in the observation of distracted driving for those two groups of drivers? So what you're looking at on the screen are the percentage rates that a driver involved in a collision has increased risk over those drivers who were not involved in a collision. So this is best illustrated by taking an example. If you look at the fourth one down, the observation of mobile phone talking handheld, we can see that that gives you a 94% more likely that that driver will be involved in a collision than a driver who doesn't show that behavior. So there's a doubling of risk. Now you can see all of the different types of distraction. It's not just using mobile phones or handheld. There's eating food, there's drinking, there's smoking, there's grooming, there's talking to a passenger, there's various different paperworks. And what we're basically showing is that these behaviors are leading indicators of substantial risk for those drivers that they will ultimately have a collision. And you can see that some of the percentage increase in risk are actually quite significant. So the learnings obviously for you in your fleet is that you need to identify these risks, and you need to help your drivers move away from these risks, because ultimately these risks will lead to drivers having significant collisions over a period of time. There are other disturbing findings from the study about the behavior of drivers who show evidence of distracted driving. We're seeing that a lot of them will drive faster. We're seeing speeds of 10 miles per hour or more above the speed limit for these drivers that are showing risky behavior. Typically, and this again is somewhat common sense, they're showing poor lane control. Drivers who are distracted are significantly more likely to show poor lane control, move in and out of lanes, and not be able to drive in a safe way when they're driving. And typically as well, that distracted drivers will drive without a seatbelt. You're seeing these distracted driving behaviors as leading indicators of substantial risk that you'll find in your business. And so the takeaway is that if you identify and coach out these distracted driving behaviors, you're going to substantially reduce your risk. Other areas that are not related to safety but purely related to the operational efficiency of your fleet. Our analysis clearly shows that distracted driving not only affects safety, it does adversely affect the operational efficiency of your fleet. So two key examples would be miles per gallon for distracted drivers are 6.1% lower than for all other drivers. And if you take the specific example of drivers using mobile phones, you can see that their miles per gallon is worse by over 8%. So it's not only a significant impact on safety, it's also a significant impact on the operational efficiency and the cost for you to run your business. Not to mention other areas, the cost of downtime and repairs, the late delivery of affected services because of collisions, and the significant brand damage and reputational damage that will happen if a driver who's distracted subsequently has a collision. And we've seen in the previous year, there's been some very high profile examples of commercial drivers using mobile phones causing death and injury, catastrophic death and injury on the roads. So the takeaway is that distracted driving causes risk. Risk reduces safety, which will cause collisions, which will lead to a significant impact on your business, both in terms of safety, your brand, and your costs. And it's an area that you absolutely need to identify, and you absolutely need to work with your drivers to remove it. If you want the full details of that study, I'm happy to email it to you. We also have top tips to eliminate distracted driving, and we can also email the full study to you so you can see the various different breakdowns of the various elements of risk and how they increase the risk and how they will point you to those drivers as leading indicators of drivers that could potentially have a crash in the future. So that's all I have for you. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully that's of interest.